everybody, Steve Haggerty, Cause for Concern. Today's episode, we're talking about the life of a special needs parent, special needs family. I'm a special needs parent. What does that mean? Well, you ever see the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, right? He's the weatherman and lives the same day over and over, Groundhog Day, hence the name. And I read he lived through that day, I don't know, it's like 10,000 times or something like that. And he kept learning and getting better and doing things, became a better person, and everything ended happily, yay. And that was the end. Well, it's kind of like that, except there is fear and pain and anxiety and depression and isolation, guilt, exhaustion, stress. I don't know if I mentioned that, it's worth mentioning twice. At the bare minimum, and that's what this life is like. There's been tests and studies that have shown that special needs parents have the same hormone levels, stress, and things like that as combat soldiers. We suffer from PTSD, and then we also suffer from CTSD. PTSD, we just did our show on that, post-traumatic stress disorder. Typically there's a singular event that someone goes through and they have triggers, and that gets treated and they can deal with it sometimes anyway. But there's also CTSD, continuous traumatic stress disorder, and the life of a special needs parent is that. It's not all sad and stress and anxiety. There's a fucking lot of it, don't get me wrong. But there are good days. Obviously, we have happy days and happy times. And with our little Cassidy, her name is Cassidy Ann. She's 9 years old and suffers from Cornelia de Lange syndrome. Here's her picture. Oh, there she is. That's my girl. That's Daddy's girl. Cornelia de Lange syndrome is a rare genetic disorder. It affects 1 in every 10 to 1 in every 30,000 newborns. It's about 4 or 5 main genes that are impacted, that can be impacted. Developmental delays, cognitive delays, issues with renal, hepatic, GI, cardiac, every system, orthopedic. She has hip dysplasia. We're looking at a hip replacement surgery at some point. She will never talk. She'll never have a boyfriend. She'll never live by herself. She'll always need care. She needs one-on-one care all the time. She needs a body person. She won't get to experience life like most of your kids will, or her sister for that matter. And that's where some of the fear and the guilt and stress and anxiety and everything else comes in. I mean, you were fearful because you're afraid of the pain or suffering that they're going through when they can't communicate. I mean, Caterpillar can't tell me, Daddy, my tummy hurts. She can bang her head real hard on the wall or the floor or something like that, and that's an indicator. So there's some communication, but it's not the same as saying, Daddy, my tummy hurts, or Daddy, this hurts, or things like that. It's incredibly hard. You're afraid because there's no answers. Sometimes the number one answer we get from the doctors is, well, we don't know. Let's try this. Oh, okay. Not helpful. And, some of their doctors, to their credit, they do the best they can. They've seen some of this stuff. They have a hard time, and it's trial and error with a lot of things, with medication and therapies and benefits, like what's going to be good, what's going to be bad. And with these kids, it's not like you just, okay, here's a new pill, take this, it'll fix everything. It's like, well, let's wean you off the other one before we start this new one, and start it slow and then ramp it up and add more to it and more to it. It's the kid being awake from 11 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning, squealing and laughing and playing because she can't shut her brain off, then crashes out hard, and we got to get her up to go to school. What's her day going to be like there? Is she going to hurt herself? Is she going to have a meltdown? And when these kids have these meltdowns, I tell you what, it's the real deal. We're talking, they can be anywhere from a mild, stage 2, whatever, to a fucking class 5 nuclear meltdown with hair pulling and self-injurious behavior and screaming and blood curdling guttural screams that you can't do anything about because you don't know what's causing it. You hug them and hold them that the best you can, and try to get them past it. You try distractions and things like that. It's guilt. You feel guilty because of the limits that they have, of the limits that we have to help them, of the limits that are placed on their life. With caterpillar syndrome, and it really depends on the severity of their life expectancy, but there are other kids that are, affected the same way as Cass, who just went to bed one night and didn't wake up. And it's always something that's, in the back of your head. Is she has immunoglobulinemia. Her immune system doesn't work. So we have to do IVs at home every other week. Is she going to get sick? COVID. Hello. Stuff like that. It's the isolation of not being able to go and do normal things, right? You don't get to see your friends and hang out and do a lot of stuff because you can't take caterpillar places because it's a danger for her. They're, most people in your house, you got knickknacks and shit all over the walls and tables and stuff like that. And that shit's going to get broken or eaten or choked on or whatever. She could fall and trip and, bang her head on the corner or something. These aren't safe places. So we're stuck, or one of us. It's hard. You're always swapping out with the other parent, right? Well, you go to this, I'll stay home with Cass, or you guys go do this and I'll do this one next time, whatever. When your friends are posting pictures about their kids are, winning medals and going to dance competitions and doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, yay, Caterpillar didn't bang her head today. Small victory. It's hard. People are always like, well, if you need anything, let us know. And we love the sentiment. They're like, well, we'll come and watch Cass. There's like 2 people that can watch Caterpillar. She's a lot of work. And they don't know these kids are children of routine. A lot of them are autistic. Caterpillar has autism as well. Everything is routine for these guys. It has to be the same. It's got to be this and this and this and this step and boom, boom, boom. It has to go. We know her cues. We know what she wants. We know her timing on stuff. We know when her medication has to be given. It's exhausting, and you get up and you do it every single day, and you might bitch a little bit, but you do it because that's your kid and you love that child. And when this caterpillar, you saw her picture, I'll show you again. Oh, there's another one. There she is. When she looks at you like that and she hugs you or touches your face or rubs your head or whatever it is to show affection, every second is worth it. But it's hard. It's hard to send those repeated emails to the doctors or to the school and set up the IEP meetings and do this and do that and get her benefits and, get things that she needs. Like she needed a special bed. We fought for a year to get one. And you can't give up. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep pushing. You got to be tenacious. And there has to be self-care. Sometimes there's not a lot, you know what I mean? And it takes a toll on other family members and marriages and friendships and life and jobs. And it's everything. And like I said, you get up and you do it because you have to. There's no other choice because someone's got to do it. And I'm not going to rely on anybody else. You have to take care of your kid. You have to take care of your family. You have to work for stuff. You have to fight for stuff. It is incredibly difficult. And if you don't live this life, nobody gets it, right? It's the same with, the previous episode that we talked about combat veterans and PTSD, and they can talk to other combat vets, or they can talk to a first responder like other first responders can, because we've seen some of that stress and we've been in those high tension situations and stuff, where you see some shit that you don't get to unsee. And sometimes in this life, you see that too, when your kid is sick and they're being rushed by an ambulance to the hospital for a seizure, or they're having testing done, and they wheel them out, and they have an ET tube in, and their eyes are taped shut, going to a different OR or whatever the case is. When they, wake up squealing, and you run in there and they're banging their head against the side of the bed, or there's, you know, shit flung everywhere because the diaper leaked, and, changing a 9-year-old's diaper is not a lot of fun. No, not so much. One of the problems with their condition is that they have low motility in their intestines, so doesn't move poop very well. Caterpillar gets a full dose, 2 full squares of X-Lax, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. If you've ever taken X-Lax, a full chocolate square, it's quite a bit. Caterpillar is about 42 pounds. She gets Miralax a couple times a day. She, drinks Boost with fiber in it to help move all this stuff through, and it comes out and it gets everywhere. And it's stripping the bed and doing poop baths before the bus is here, or when the bus is here, or it's, while that's going on and the dog is throwing up on the floor, or something else is going on, and you're trying to help your other child with their homework. And you're stressing about work and life and everything else, and you get to the point where you're just like, fuck, what am I going to do? I don't know what to tell you, except keep going. There are resources. There are absolutely resources. You got to find someone that you can talk to. There's other special needs parenting groups. The Cornelia DeLange Foundation is one of the ones that we have dealt with when we found out about Caterpillar. There's special needs parenting groups. There's all kinds of things out there. We'll put some stuff up on the website and everything for you guys to see. I don't know. I was trying to get ready to talk about this, and I know I'm missing stuff, and some of it will come out when we do the other part of the show. Other parts will come out, who knows, somewhere down the line. Shit, did I even say, I don't even know what date it is. It's November something. It's a Sunday. I have no idea what time of the afternoon it is. Where's the clock? It's 3:45 on Sunday afternoon. I have no idea. It's, when you go somewhere, do I have this? I got to take that. I have to take extra clothes. I got to make sure the diaper bag is ready. I got to make sure I have stuff to entertain her. I got to have her food and her Boost and her thickener, because she aspirates and she eats baby food. She's 9 years old. She has teeth in her mouth like normal, and she'll chew everything else that you give her except food. And we've had speech and feeding therapy, and we have OT and PT, and she gets that stuff at school, and she has hearing aids, and she's got some hearing loss. But she loves music. She loves to run, and she loves to squeal and play the games that daddy makes up that nobody else really likes, because it's a dad thing. You guys get it. I don't know. It's hard, man. It's really, really hard. And we do have good friends that are supportive. We have a couple people that can actually come and watch casts, and other people like, oh, you want to go out for the night? We'll come and watch. You can't, right? Like, we could put her in bed and you guys come over and sit at the house, but if she wakes up, you're fucked. Because you don't know what to do, and trying to change her diaper or do a poop bath or do all these things makes it incredibly tough. And it's, I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't know what else to say. You grieve because she can't have a normal life. You know what I mean? And part of me, though, like, she doesn't know what normal really is, does she? Like, she doesn't get it. She doesn't know Christmas or Disneyland or things like that. She knows that she likes her musical toys and her Bumblebee to chew on. And that's why we have like 4 or 5 backups in the closet. So when the one she's chewing on gets disgusting and nasty, I can shit can it when she's not looking, because if she sees you, she's gonna go and take it out. Every remote in the house has been grabbed and thrown and smashed, and anything left on the counter gets grabbed and thrown, and things get pulled down, and her sister's hair gets pulled, and the dog has only got one eye, gets the eye socket gouged sometimes because she doesn't know any better, and she's not trying to be hurtful, and God bless our dog Donut, he takes it. Um, it's living with all of that, um, and trying to take care of everything else. Um, I used to work in the bars when I was younger in my youth. And it's like dealing with a bunch of really fun drunks where a couple of them get really angry out of fucking nowhere. And things just start to go crazy. It's kind of like that sometimes. Um, and there are other days where she's quiet and doesn't make a peep. And those are the days that scare you because there's something wrong. Um, if she gets lethargic or whatever. And like I said, she's been rushed to the emergency room and they've wanted to intubate her and she's been admitted multiple times. Um, and there's tests and follow-ups and insurance and medical equipment companies and getting things fixed that are broke or getting things on time and being able to, have 5 minutes for yourself. Sometimes you don't get it. I get mine at 4 o'clock. I get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter if I go to bed at 2 a.m., I'm up at 4. If I go to bed at midnight, I'm up at 4. Um, if I go to bed at 9, I'm up at 2. um, it's, you always monitor her. You have the little baby monitor and we watch her on camera and you listen for the particular squeal or laugh. Is it the happy squeal that she's playing around in bed when she's supposed to be sleeping, or is it the squeal of poop? Because she got one, right? Um, and it's leaked out of her diaper, and now it's 9:30 at night, and now you got to strip the bed and do laundry and put her in the poop bath and do everything else. And do we have clean sheets to put back on? And do we have this? Did her blankets get covered in shit? And now we don't have any blankets for her in the bed, and it's a lot of that. Um, and everybody wants to help, and that's great, but not everybody can help. Um, those of you who live this life know it. But there is help. Um, and you got to find it. You got to make time for yourself. Even if it's 20 minutes in the morning, drinking your coffee, not talking and just sitting quiet, or playing the music loud on the ride to work, or listening to a book on the drive. Um, it's, you know, it's all those things. And like I said, it's not, don't get me wrong, like I wouldn't trade Caterpillar for the world. She's brought me so much joy in my life. She is adorable. Um, but like I said, you get frustrated and you have anxiety and you worry about them. And is she going to go to, she gets a little sniffle. You're like, shit, is she going to wake up tomorrow? And I've been in healthcare for 20 plus years, 25 years. You worry and you try to put that stuff out of your head and you push it to the back, and you have to be like, well, if, I hope not. And you look after her the best you can. Um, it's hard. Don't quit. Don't ever fucking quit. Keep going, keep pushing. Um, do the best you can. Like, I mean, I'm 52 years old. I'll be taking care of Caterpillar till I physically can't do it anymore. Um, she's fast. She's strong. She climbs like a billy goat, has the balance of a drunken sailor. No spatial relationship to gravity or falling or getting hurt. She'll do something and get hurt and climb right back up. Um, and as she grows older and her brain changes and develops and hormones, and I mean, there's going to come a point where, she's going to have girl stuff, girl stuff. Changing a diaper now is hard enough, let alone having to do that. Um, it's a lot. It is a real lot. But like I said, when she looks at you and pats your head or touches your face or gives you hugs, um, every bit of it is worth it. Every poop smeared, hair pulled, meltdown, head banged, fight with the insurance, frustration at the doctors, frustration at the school, broken remote, um, grabbed, ripped down, broken plates and bowls and cups in the sink because she likes to grab stuff and throw it. And she's really smart. She uses distraction tactics. And we always have to warn respite providers, and we'll talk about that because that has been a big issue. Finding ones that are normal, will show up, do what they're supposed to do, and not be crazy. Because we've had a few. but she'll go and do something. So you're like, no, 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 Cass. And as soon as you reach for whatever you didn't want her to do, she's gone. So up the hallway, going to do something she's not supposed to. Part of it, she's a 9-year-old, well, 9.5, right? And she has that mentality. Other parts of it, she's, 18 months. It's a lot, but there's always help. There's always someone to listen to. You got to look for it sometimes. And you just try to accept it the best you can and do the best you can with it. It's all you can do, right? You get up in the morning, you put your feet on the ground and say, all right, when life knocks you down, get back up and say, you hit like a bitch, and keep going. We'll be back after the break, guys. Okay, everybody, we're back. I told you we'd be back. G would be here. So that was my little spiel about life as a special needs parent. For better or for worse, mostly better. Wouldn't change a thing. Now we're going to talk a little bit more meat and potatoes about some stuff. With me, as always, my man, Garrett Allen Dalwitz. We have some guests coming up. We're going to talk to in a little bit that can offer some other insight on some topics and some help and some resources that are out there and what you can do. G, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Steve. It was a heavy segment, man. Super excited to do this show at the same time, sort of torn and emotional. I mean, how can you not be?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's a emotional subject to say the least, much like our previous episode with PTSD and veteran suicide and things we know about very well, unfortunately. But it's got to be talked about, right? It is a cause for concern. And if you're listening and you are a special needs parent or have friends that are, pay attention, help them out, do the extra little bit maybe, and just show some empathy. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
And Steve, I know we've been off for a couple of weeks, man, but are you guys listening? Are you listening?
I certainly hope so.
I hope so too.
Absolutely. So, G, what are we doing?
I had a couple questions for you, man. I mean, this is, I look at something like this and parents out there, I think a lot of them may look at this and go, Cornelia-de-Lange syndrome, what exactly does it mean to me? Why should I be worried about it? And I took a lot out of your conversation, and some of it, I've known you for 20 years, and I still was just blown away by the emotions and how serious this topic was. And I've always known how much you struggle with this. But the one thing that I think I took out of this is the team of people that it takes. The specialists, I look down the list here and it's just incredible. As respiratory illnesses, heart defects, partially disjointed of the second and third toe, gastroesophageal reflux, gastrointestinal abnormalities, social anxieties, scoliosis, seizures, cleft palates, feeding problems, autism, normal, well-adjusted adults can't speak to each other well.
Right.
This is just incredible. So I look at all the adults out there, some maybe have children that maybe have autism. Some maybe are thinking about having children, 2 adults that are thinking about having a kid and so excited. And so I would say to them, you never know what's going to happen. We all want healthy children, of course. We all want to be healthy. But pay attention, because even one of these things, autism, issues that with the heart, scoliosis, developmental issues, mental issues, communication problems, any of these things, they're difficult to deal with on their own. So pay attention. I think, this is going to be a really good show for those people out there who are thinking about being parents, who love their children and who want to provide the best possible life, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does, when you talk about the specials, it takes a village to raise a child, like the old saying goes. And it's a lot. And like you say, if your child has autism, that's one thing. And it could be very mild or it could be very severe. And, the troubles that go along with that. Your kid could have, hearing deficit. That alone is a disability and can be significant. And now with CDLS, those of you who are unfamiliar, Cornelia-de-Lange syndrome is a rare genetic disorder, 1 in every 10 to 30,000 births. And as G went down that list, it can be a lot of things. A lot of people know when the baby, before the baby is born, because some of these physical abnormalities can be seen, in utero. And these kids, shortened forelimbs and missing fingers, lobster claws, kind of hands, and they end up trached and tube fed and nonverbal and these things. Some are mild, Caterpillar is sort of in between. She doesn't have any necessarily physical abnormalities outside, looking at her, unless you interact with her, you wouldn't really know. She's got some ortho issues. She needs a hip replacement. Not looking forward to that surgery and a body cast. Changing a diaper.
You're going to need one
right?
soon.
I need one before her. Changing a diaper alone right now in a 9-year-old who's strong and active, let alone trying to do one that's, in a body cast. Not looking forward to it. But they have a lot of issues: renal, hepatic, GI, GERD. A lot of these kids for CDLS used to die from GERD because they have a very high pain tolerance and the lack of communication for a lot of them, the significant portion of them. And that reflux will start changing esophageal cells that leads to cancer, and that was the ballgame. They also have low motility, which means the poop doesn't move through. And I mentioned in my opening, she gets a full square of X-Lax in the morning and a full one at night, plus Miralax a couple times in the day. It's a lot. And she luckily doesn't have any cardiac issues, knock on wood. But as these kids grow and change, those things can sometimes also change. And yeah, we have a team of specialists. We go to Phoenix Children's Hospital, which has been great. And we go to clinic, and those are long days. You're there all day. You meet with everybody. You don't get answers a lot of the time. The number one answer you get is we don't know. And that's a hard part. So yeah, for those of you out there listening right now, if you have a child with disabilities, don't give up, keep pushing. We're going to put up some information on the website where you have some resources. It's never easy. You can't compare yourself to other parents and other kids. And that's a hard thing to do, because we always compare ourselves to others, our peers or whatever. You can't do it. Other people are like, oh, my little one got a medal for, dance or whatever the case is. And I'm like, Caterpillar made it all day in the same outfit without puking on herself. Got to look for your victories where you can find them. You know what I mean? And having one problem is a big deal. Having 5 problems is huge. And you have other kids, and Cass is luckily, she's not trached or tube fed, but we have to feed her like a baby. She eats baby food every day and drinks bottles because she has aspiration issues. And you put anything in her mouth, she'll chew it, except for food, which is, ironically funny.
So Steve, I with all these issues, and I know you said something about the issues continuing on necessarily, and now with science the way it is, with our medical technology, you said these children used to pass away from some of these issues. Now, because of the medical field the way it is, they're living into adulthood. Thank God. I mean, they're living longer.
Absolutely.
They're fulfilling they're having more of a fulfilling life, of course, but still not on the the scope and spectrum that me and you would have as an adult. That comes with, and I hate to say this, but financial strains and I would dare say emotional strains, that long-term, what you call complex PTSD or continuous PTSD, which we talked a little bit about, but now we're talking about PTSD in that sense, where the daily just drone in and out of trying to fix these problems and working with teams and not getting any answers, emotional letdowns, ups, downs, highs, lows. How does that work into all this, man?
Well, it's definitely a concern. And we went to this Cornelia DeLange Foundation. It is a great resource that we found after, getting our diagnosis, because we didn't know Cass had this disorder until she was like 9 months old. There was no signs, really, no outward signs or anything. She was a cute little baby. And then we got the diagnosis. And they do a conference every other year. And we went and met with specialists and started to learn a lot, because as a parent of a child who's medically fragile and has a disability, you got to become your own expert. You have to learn this stuff, because some of these rare ones, the doctors don't know. They've never heard of it. Shit, I was in healthcare for 20 years and, didn't even hear about it. The long-term stuff, yeah, it's a big concern. You worry, what kind of care are they going to get? Can we afford what they need? Within Arizona, they have Altex, Arizona Long-Term Care Services. So CAS, long as the state of Arizona remains solvent, will get long-term care. But what is that going to look like? Is she going to be in a home when we physically can't take care of her, or hire someone to come in and do it? There is emotional strain and it's worry, and they are living longer, ones that aren't as medically complex as the others. Um, it's it's disconcerting to say the least. And you mentioned the CTSD, the continuous traumatic stress disorder. It is. And like, we'll have episodes, we've had a couple with Cass where she, had a seizure or whatever, and was rushed to the ER. So you're like, holy shit. And you jump in the car and you leave work and you stress, and, you go through that, and she's inpatient for a while. And that's the one thing. But like you say, it's the constant daily boom, boom. It's always something, and trying to figure out med doses and weaning them up and weaning them down and doing certain things makes it difficult. It puts a lot of strain on everybody involved, spouse, parents, grandparents, friends, whatever, people that are involved. It's difficult,
Well, we've got a specialist coming up right here. We're going to interview Steve. I think you brought somebody along to speak on this topic a little more, and we'll get back to it after the commercial. Who are we bringing in?
We're going to talk with Janine and Penny from the Susie Foundation. The Susie Foundation is a foundation here local in Arizona that was started to help kids with special needs, help families get help with resources and where to find things. They put on all kinds of events and raise money. They're a couple of great people, and we've gone to a bunch of their events, and we're going to talk to them here in a little bit. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back from the break. While this topic is important for us to talk about, I know Steve feels strongly about it. I know we just went through all this, and we talked a little bit about CDLS, but we wanted to go through a little bit and just maybe go back to the moment when you realize this is going on, and the impact just overall, and where this comes from. More importantly. So that's a lot of questions. Let's get to it. Steve, where does CDLS come from? What is it? Essentially medically.
Sure. It is a syndrome, which so it means there's multiple issues with it. It's typically one of 5 genes that can be impacted, sometimes multiple ones. And it leads to cognitive, developmental delays, physical abnormalities, things like that. When people ask me about it, I kind of describe it a little bit. I said it's similar to Down syndrome as in regards to where all the kids have similar physical features, right? If you see a child with Down syndrome, or an adult for that matter, they all kind of look similar, right? CDLS is the same way. Low set ears, little upturned nose, big, beautiful eyebrows. They tend to be hairier than most. And they tend to have spread apart teeth, as you guys saw in that couple pictures of Caterpillar in there and her smile. It's diagnosed clinically or genetically. It can be diagnosed in utero, with an ultrasound, things like that, depending on the severity of it. And I just wanted to touch base. You had mentioned earlier, one never thinks they're going to have a special needs child or anything. Everyone says they want their kid to be happy and healthy. And that's true of anybody. A lot of people find out, through ultrasound, and they do testing, obviously, when a woman is pregnant, for any genetic abnormalities, things like that. We did all that testing. Nothing was there.
Wow. So, geez, what was there a moment? I mean, what was that like? I mean, I would think that, you go through this and you're happy one minute and you're like, my kid's here, Cass is here. This is going to be a phenomenal, a lifetime of fun and excitement. And you have maybe a vision of what your life is going to be like together. And obviously it's not the same as you would have wished, but what was that moment like finding this out? I mean,
yeah, it was, it was difficult, as a clinician, obviously, first responder, as a medic, and in healthcare for 25 years. As a clinician, your mindset's a little bit different. But, she was 36 weeks, so she was term, but early. She was tiny and, failed some hearing tests right after she was born and had some issues. So she was a NICU baby for a few days and a little hearing loss, whatever, no big deal. And then everything was fine. She was adorable and growing, everything was okay. And then we started to notice that she wouldn't keep a gaze. You know, when a kid looks at you, they look at you, and she would kind of track off, and she wasn't starting to hit some milestones and stuff. And it was her ENT doctor, actually. We were getting ear tubes done, and her ENT doctor was the one. He's like, yeah, she kind, you know, she looks like you and her sister, but I think she has this. And he's like, don't go on the internet and look it up. First, oh my God, let me get on my phone and start looking it up.
Right.
And we're like, oh yeah, that's what it is. And it went from there, and we got, you know, clinical diagnosis and things like that. And, you know, you start to read about it, and you start to look up other cases and things like that. And you'd be like, you know what, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. And if she needs to have a helmet, it's going to be pink with stickers. And she needed one at one point, and it was pink, and we put stickers on it.
And I need that as well. Just letting you know right now, sooner or later, I'm 52. As I get to 60, please get me pink stickers, white hat.
It'll be a nice one. It'll be one of those nice form-fitting ones for your squash.
I'm in, man. Hey, so you know what? You mentioned this, and I just want to clarify. You said there was this moment the clinician, the doctor said that this is probably what it is. Did you expect that this was going to be as extreme, as time consuming, as life consuming? Did you understand at that moment the amount of disruption, the amount of change you would have to go through?
You know, initially, I obviously understand there's going to be some. Did I know it was going to be the extent of what it has been? No, you know, we assumed, at least initially, maybe we thought it was just going to be so mild because, I mean, she looked normal, you know, and if someone didn't know Cass and she hadn't ripped all her hair out, you wouldn't think anything of it. But as time went on and things started to kind of tick up and more things started to go on, now you're thinking, all right, well, you know, I'm in it. So we're going all the way with this. You don't think it's going to be as difficult sometimes, maybe other times you're just like, Jesus, fuck, it never ends. But you know, once you're in the breach, you're in and you're not going anyplace. Yep. You know, so you deal with it. And like I said, it can be fracturing, it can be stressful on a marriage and friendships and stuff like that. And, you know, like someone says, oh, why don't you bring the girls over to the house, or we're going somewhere, you know, we always have to worry about, well, can I bring Cass? Is the house safe for her? Is it dangerous? And not that it's a dangerous house, but all the stuff there. She's at risk for different things of hurting herself or hurting, you know, or getting hurt through some other action. She's immunocompromised. She has immunoglobulinemia, so we have to give her infusions every couple weeks. Is she going to be exposed? Is she at risk to get sick more so than other people? And it used to be like if we took her somewhere, she was sick the next day. Since she's been born, other than knock on wood, these last year, she spent a week in the hospital.
Yeah, and wow, it's a lot of information. And just for those of you who are not old enough to remember, there is Schoolhouse Rock. I think you're wearing the Schoolhouse Rock T-shirt. We used to get a lot of our information from Schoolhouse Rock, right?
We did.
Simple, straightforward, nice and easy to consume. You know, life is like a box of chocolates. You know, and you know, anyway, a little Forrest Gump moment there. But you know, hey, this is a lot of information for people to take in. And I think, like you know, maybe to tie it all up in a bow, really, you know, as an adult, as a parent that's going to have kids, that has children, that the children are still young, like you said, you know, into 9 months, you didn't really know.
Yeah.
It's important to keep your options open. It's important to understand that life is not perfect, that there are challenges. But with those challenges, especially when it comes to children and parenting, I would think, Steve, that you understand this the best. It's a matter of using resources around you and not giving up, not, you know, giving in to the fight within necessarily. It's the idea that no matter what life throws at you, you have to be able to reach out and find people. I know that between me and you, we've seen our share of speed bumps. You might be a lot more so on a regular basis. And you reach out to people. You've gotten, as you got older, I think, better at reaching out to people.
Absolutely.
So those parents and adults out there, from Steve, from me, please continue to reach out. Please continue to try to find those resources, those people. And more so, if you're watching this show, you don't have a child that has developmental issues, disabilities. Maybe you have neighbors. Maybe you have friends. Maybe you're going to have a friend. It's important to be there for your people around you, for your community. And that's what this show is all about. So don't think this is just a show for the parents with special needs children. It's for everybody. And Steve, Where are these resources? What do you do? How do you find the support you need? And I know it's been frustrating for you, so I'll let you talk about that. Where do you
Sure.
find these things? How do you get around
Part of
what
it
you need
you
to do?
start to find out through the doctors, and then Arizona has Triple D services, the Department of Developmental Disabilities, which is part of DES.gov. And for kids from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, they have early intervention. So if you have a child with any kind of special needs, they really do quite a bit for you. You'll get a caseworker. And unfortunately, we had a great one when we first started. And unfortunately, they are overworked and underpaid. So they tend to rotate through, unfortunately. But the caseworker is the one that's going to initially help you. And for us, I mean, Cassidy had occupational therapy and speech therapy, and we got assistance and stuff. And I mean, insurance obviously is helpful as well. Not well, I take it back. Insurance is initially helpful. It's nice to have because they cover diapers and food and and some of that stuff, and her infusions, things like that. And then there is the CDLS.org, the CDLS Foundation, who we reached out to and found out about. They're a great resource. They have, and this goes not just for CDLS, but autism and learning disabilities or Down syndrome or any other of the litany of special needs problems that these kids have. There's a foundation for every single one. There's a main focus group, and then there's a bunch of offshoots, and we found some of those as well, where you can find out about what it's going to be like and what these kids need and what to look for and things like that. Parent to Parent USA, the Federation of Children with Special Needs, the Center for Parenting Education. There's a lot of different ones out there. A simple Google search will start to get you in the right direction. You can kind of drill down from there. It can be very, very frustrating, especially, with like insurance. You're trying to get them to fight for equipment that the child needs. And it's hard. We fought for a year to get Cass her bed. She slept in a crib, till she was 5 or 6. Then she got to the point where she could climb out. You don't want her rolling out of the crib in the middle of the night and going to do her thing. And we were one day away from going to court, fighting the state to get the bed. They wanted to give us one that they had under contract, but it wasn't the right one for our child. You can't quit. Like you say, G, you got to keep fighting and keep pushing forward. We had a one-on-one with the judge, and we got the bed. A lot of people, it's easy to give up. And because you're like, I can't go anymore. You can, and you will, because it's your kid and you love them and you're not going to stop. And you keep reaching out to people. There's foundations. There's another one. We were trying to get them on the show. Unfortunately, we didn't have them, but we are going to get their link up on the website. It's the Susie Foundation here in Arizona. And it was started by a woman whose child with special needs. And their main job is to help parents or families with special needs kids get equipment that they need that either the insurance won't cover or whatever the case is. We just did the Susie Walk a couple weeks ago. They do a run, they do events, things like that. So please check them out. You can look for them on Facebook, Susie Foundation. You can check them out, susiefoundation.org. They do a lot of great work, and there's a lot of things like that. And they need volunteers and donations. And regardless of what your special needs child has or whatever you're involved with, there's a lot of people that need help. So please do what you can, volunteer, whatever it is. It's important.
It is important, and you mentioned community. It takes a village, as you always say. It does take the audience out here to help out and use the audience. Please reach out to us. I would say as well, it is people. It's the people that experience these things that support each other. I'm going to be doing a dinner, this Christmas Eve for veterans at Manor House. And Manor House was for veterans who were homeless, helping other veterans. This is similar in the sense that Steve has a special needs child reaching out, and others are going to reach out to us. And it's our hope that starts this movement and this connection. And we're going to have a resource page up on our website. Please go to yourcauseforconcern.com. These links, this resource page, it will get larger. It will grow. We will have a community outreach type page where you can find information.
Always available. And make sure you guys, sorry, G, just want to make sure you guys send your emails, yourcauseforconcern@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts about the show. Send us your concerns. We want to hear from you guys. We want to share. We're always looking for new things that we can talk about and reach people. We want to talk. We want to get people involved. We want to start community action, and hopefully it can spread outward. Those of you who do have friends who have a special needs parent, please reach out to them. They're not okay. They say, oh, we're good. We're fine. They're not. Okay. They need help. And it's tough because, you know, they're like, oh, well, we can watch your child. No, you can't, but you can come over and keep me company and keep my sanity while I'm doing it or whatever. So just keep that in mind for you listeners out there. And the same for, you know, our previous episode about PTSD. For your veteran friends out there and our veterans out there, you know, check up on them. Make sure they're okay. Even if they say they are, doesn't necessarily mean they are. Go the extra mile. Be that person and reach out and make a difference. Okay.
One last thing, guys, and I think Steve mentioned, and I have to reiterate this. This show right now is about CDLS. It is about the struggles, and we need to solve this. We need to put ourselves out there in the community. But PTSD doesn't stop. The last show doesn't stop. Just like our next show is going to be on homeless, and we're going to attempt to put a dent in the homeless crisis in Arizona, in Phoenix. But all these issues, just because we move on to the next show, doesn't mean it's not on our mind. It doesn't mean the resource page is not open. It doesn't mean you can't drop a line to us, and we will do what we can within the community to reach out to somebody who can help you if you need. Right, Steve, after the break?
Absolutely. And remember, folks, the more listeners we have, excuse me, the more listeners we have, the more subscribers we get, the bigger impact we have locally. Now we can start to tick that up and start a whole movement, right? Make a big difference. We're trying to help people. We want it to grow and do what we can to help others.
Right. After the break, we're going to have one more segment. Steve, you're going to close us out, and I will see everybody next week, but Steve is going to talk to you, and stay tuned after the break, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the final little section here. There's a lot in that episode. This is a hard life to live. These kids need a lot of love. They need a lot of help. They have a lot of medical conditions and appointments and IEPs and everything. It's hard on the families. It's hard on the caregivers. Finding a qualified caregiver can be brutally difficult. We've gone through a string of them. Some of them get here and they see what's involved and they're like, holy shit, I can't do that. We've had others that were great, and then through whatever reasons in their own personal life, things come up, they move on, and it's tough because routine is very important for these kids. As far as those of you out there who are special needs parents, find the resources, do your research, become an expert. No one's going to know it as best as you are. We've had a lot of doctors that have never even heard of Cornelia de Lange syndrome. We provide information. We bring pamphlets and packets and things like that, and whatever issue or disorder or syndrome or disability your child has, become an expert as best you can and share that information. For friends of people who are special needs parents, reach out to them, look out for them, help them out best you can, come by and visit. It's hard. We get stuck. We can't go places. It's difficult. And I love being a special needs dad. My Caterpillar is the joy of my life. She's wonderful, as is her sister. She's adorable. My Marley Cake's her bigger sister. But it's hard. But we don't quit. Keep moving forward, right? Crying is okay. Screaming is okay. Breaking down is okay. Quitting is not okay. You keep going. You keep pushing. You keep doing the best you can till you can't do it anymore and you get some more help, or till the child gets to a point where you physically can't do it. There's going to come a day when that will happen for me and Caterpillar. I don't look forward to it. But give them support, help them, reach out, do something in your community, go volunteer at a special needs program, or find a foundation that's looking for volunteers, or make a donation, or go find that friend. And for those of you who have quote unquote normal kids, educate them on special needs. When they see someone, it's okay to go up and ask the parents. We want to talk about our child, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Everyone's different in this world and everybody's special. that's about all I got. Keep listening. Coming up, our next episode is going to be on homeless veterans here in the Metro Phoenix area. It's a pretty significant problem. And G's working on a special event with the Manor House for Christmas Eve. So keep in tune. Send us your emails, yourcauseforconcern@gmail.com. Remember, reach out, help out, be part of the solution. We'll see you next time, kids.